Make it radical.
Dude, what do you got to drink?
All right, let's see here. We got some cola, got some purple stuff. User friendly. All right. Hello, friends. Welcome to another episode of User Friendly. My name is Erfon Elijah. I'm a contributing writer for cultomac.com, and I'm also the cool founder of the cool indie brand MightTees.com.
My name is Roberto Hoyos. I am the owner of Throwboy.
This is episode 3 of User Friendly. User Friendly is our new podcast where we talk about technology, things that we love on the web, and anything else that suits our fancy.
That's right.
How's it going, dude?
It's been going good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Been kind of getting all the kinks out of User Friendly. Like, it's fun to have these new projects where you can see what the fans' reception is, and they're telling us, oh, you know, I like that you did this, you should try this. I like that it's kind of like they're like the OG fans of the start of the show, so it's kind of fun hearing what you guys have to say about our new show. What about you?
We've been doing a lot of work on User Friendly, actually. I've been working on it too. We've been working on our blip.tv page.
Yep.
We're getting up in iTunes now, so you can subscribe there, and I think it's just iTunes/user friendly, right?
Well, you can't really do that, but you just search for us.
So don't do what I just said at all. Just search for us.
iTunes is
I'm not even sure why I said that.
Search in it.
We're gonna be talking about this new thing called iTunes, and then we're also on Vidler, and Vidler is vidler.com/user friendly, and the same with blip.tv.
Yeah, we're in a lot of places, but we're working on a website, so you don't have to remember all that. You can go to our site.
We're just going to keep making new places for you to visit on the web.
We'll have one centralized place very soon.
Oh, dude, that's overrated.
So, yeah, been going good. And how's MightTees going?
MightTees is going great. We are working on new designs. We have just paid for new designs, so we've got a bunch of new stuff coming in the next 3 to 4 weeks. So we're getting kind of low on a lot of stuff, so it's actually been awesome. And
that's a good problem to have.
That's a good problem to have, and we've partnered with Cultomac, the site that I write for, to do a bunch of different Apple teas, which is awesome because, I mean, when you make an Apple tea, people, you know, if they find out about it, usually want it if they're Apple fans. Yeah. And Cultomac has, you know, 2 million readers a month. So it's a great way to, like, get the word out about the stuff that we're doing.
Tell them about my Mac pillows.
About your Cultomac or your audience?
No, the Cultomac audience.
Oh yeah, they know about those. Actually, well, we won't talk about that here. That could be a possibility in the future. That's all I'll say.
That'd be cool. I'm wearing a Might tee.
You are? So am I. Which one are you wearing? Oh, dude, that's OG. Look how faded he is.
Make it so.
Make it so. And I've got our One Wolf, One Moon shirt in, which nerds love. Let's jump in the show, shall we?
Cool.
We have got 3 things we're going to talk about today. The first one isn't really a news story, but it's more just about a company that's doing something pretty cool, and it's called Airbnb. You may have heard of it. They are a, for lack of a better way of describing it, they are like a hotel type site, except when you go there, instead of booking a hotel, you are booking somebody's place where they live, and you can either book one of their rooms in their houses, or you can actually book their whole house if they put it up for rent, and if they're not going to be there or something. Are you familiar with it? I think you are.
So I've heard it like here and there on some podcasts that I've followed, and I never actually I never went to the website. I never like tried to look for what it was, but I just heard stories, and finally I did. I checked it out on my phone, and it looked awesome. I was like, oh, I didn't know that it's what it was. I didn't know how people rent out. I didn't know that anyone can do it. Like, anyone can rent out as far as I understand. And they have really good pricing on these different places that you can get, you know, as opposed to just going to a new place and getting a hotel. And we travel a lot, so I was like, shoot, it's making me want to travel more because of the pricing, you know? Especially, like, we went to South by Southwest and kind of had to, like, scrounge up a place. You know, I mean, they would have made it so much easier to go.
Although we did end up getting a pretty sweet place.
That's
even though we almost got shot on the way in. I found out about Airbnb, funny enough, from my editor at Cultomac, Leander Caney, and he didn't actually tell me about it. I saw a listing that he had posted either on Twitter or something, and he was renting his whole house
Really?
He was renting his whole house. Him and his family. They do this almost every year, I guess. They put up their house on Airbnb, and you could rent this house in San Francisco for I think a month, and they'll either just let somebody rent it, or they do like a house swap. So you'll go to their house and they'll go to yours in like another state or another country.
Interesting.
So it's like an interesting way or a free way of getting into another place and having a place to stay. Once you get there. Now, have you used Airbnb?
Not at all.
I have. And it's really interesting because the prices are all over the place. And first of all, one of the things you need to know is Airbnb is available all over the world.
Right.
Not just in the US.
If you go to the front page, they show you
they do?
A whole bunch, like Italy and, New York, wherever.
Totally.
So, yeah.
And, I mean, it's really generally much more inexpensive than a hotel. Plus, a lot of times you can book for like a week. So if you're going to be staying somewhere for a week, then it's generally a good deal. If you're going to do a night or two, actually sometimes it's not that much less expensive than a hotel. Because Airbnb's fees are actually not cheap. And almost everyone on there is going to try and charge you a cleaning fee.
Oh, really?
So you have to pay that whether you're there for a day or whether you're there for a week. And sometimes it's like $100.
Oh, okay.
So it's good if you're going to stay someplace for a week or longer. But pro tip, this is something that we learned traveling through Europe last summer. Are you familiar with couchsurfing.com? Couchsurfing.com.
That's what it reminded me of.
It's very similar to couchsurfing.com. So couchsurfing.com is a community of people who will let you come stay at their house almost always for free. They usually don't ask for money. And a lot of those people will also post their places on Airbnb. So what you always want to do is if you find a place on Airbnb, make sure you go onto couchsurfing.com and see if they've posted it there. Because I'd say 6 out of 10 times they're there in both communities.
They're double posting to see if they can make some money.
Well, no, because couchsurfing is free.
Right.
So you use Airbnb to look for a place, and then you go to couchsurfing and you contact them. You're couchsurfing and you get it for free.
Is it always free? Is that the whole thing?
Almost always. The couchsurfing community really frowns upon charging.
Oh, okay.
And that's not what couchsurfing is about. Couchsurfing is about letting
it's
people
like hospitality.
Hospitality, letting people stay there for free. And couchsurfing is great. I mean, on a trip that we went on in 2008, we were traveling for 9 weeks through Europe. 9 weeks is a long time, and one of your biggest expenses is lodging.
Sure.
And we ended up saving like $1,500 just by couch surfing.
Jeez. But
there's certain places you can't use it. Like if you go to Italy, like a lot of times there's just nothing available. But like the Slavic countries and like Germany and like Norway, countries like that, they love Americans. And dude, you'll stay, they'll feed you. If you're of age, even if you're not of age, they'll give you drinks. They take you out partying.
It sounds like you're gonna go down a totally different.
Yeah, but actually, it's funny enough. If you end up using couchsurfing.com, it's a lot easier to do as a girl than it is as a guy.
Oh yeah, sure.
Because
especially if you're of age.
Especially if you're of age, and particularly if you're not of age, for those perverts in Europe. Because a lot of guys use it as a dating service.
God, yeah.
So like you'll read their profile and it's like, do not even contact me if you're not a female. Like only females can stay here.
Yeah.
Which is BS, dude.
Yeah, well, that's what people do on Craigslist. Like, oh, you can be my roommate if you're hot. Send headshots, please.
Yeah, send your headshots and a resume. And if you're really hot, you don't even have to pay rent.
Oh, I've totally seen that. Have you never seen that?
No.
I've totally seen that on like, that's sort of like illegal, I think, right?
That's how you end up waking up in an alley with your clothes half ripped, coming down from roofies. That's how it happens. This is when you reply to ads like that on Craigslist.
So, but like, I think the biggest difference between Airbnb, besides the charging thing, and couch surfing, couch surfing, like you always say community because it feels more like communal.
Yeah.
But then it's also just way more ghetto as far as the website and everything, and just kind of like the hippie aspect of it. Like you have to get verified through that website by them sending you a postcard with like a code on it, and you like type in the code, and that's how they verify that you're not just screwing around.
Really?
Like it's really like it's very, I don't know, it just seems very hippie, like, you know, peace, love. And this one, Airbnb, seems like really slick and really nice. And it's like, wow, this is like better looking than like hotels.com or like any of these sites.
It is a really great looking site. So, and the search functions on it are fantastic.
Yeah, and so there's like those two dynamics of like, one is way more marketable than the other one. And the other one just, I don't know, sometimes that just sounds sketchy, you know? Like,
that's true.
So, but I want to try out. I almost tried out couch surfing at South by Southwest, but I ended up finding somebody that I knew there, so I didn't stay at the place I was going to. But I really do want to try out Airbnb. So it's cool that you've done it, so now I can ask you more stuff.
Yeah. One last tip about Airbnb, especially if you're using it abroad. One of the nice things about Airbnb as opposed to couch surfing is when you couch surf, a lot of times there's an expectation because you're not paying that you're going to go into this person's house, you're going to hang out with them the whole time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like you know, because it's very communal, right? It's like you're going to talk about your cultures, you're going to go do stuff with them. And when you're traveling, especially when you're on long trips, like 9-week trips, like, dude, after a week of traveling, you do not want to go into yet another person's house
and start talking.
Have that same conversation you always have, like, here's what I do. Yes, here's what's wrong with America. Yeah. You know, like, here's how our cultures differ. It's like sometimes you just want to go to your hotel room and just fall asleep. Yeah, or have some drinks and just not talk to anyone. And with Airbnb, like, that's an option.
Sure.
Because
you're paying for it.
Because you're paying for it. Although it's not always an option. With some Europeans, it's still expected that you're going to have a conversation with them and stuff.
I think more times I would be trying to get the ones that are not shared, not a room, you know?
Yeah, where it's like your actual place. Yeah. Dude.
Because then you're not that much different than going to a hostel.
That's the way to go.
Like that,
yeah,
you know?
That's really true.
So it's like, well, I don't want to go to a hostel. Why do I want to go to a person's home, you know?
And when we were in Salzburg, Austria, the place we were staying was so well located, and they had 2 bikes for us to use, which awesome. You may not think is a big deal, but like if you want to rent a bike, it's like $15 a day. So you have $30 a day worth of bikes that you can ride around town with. It's a huge perk. So definitely better than going to a hotel if you're gonna be somewhere for a week. I would definitely recommend trying it. If you're gonna use couch surfing, read the reviews.
Read the reviews on Airbnb, dude.
Yeah, that's true too. But I mean, I feel like because you're paying, like, you're a little bit more covered just for the fact that like the total deviants aren't gonna put their information out there for you to have to pay them.
Yeah, good point.
Whereas like with couch surfing, it's like you never know what you're gonna get, especially in Italy. Those
Italians.
With those pervs in Italy. All right, well, let's move on.
Yes.
We want to talk about iPhones. You have an iPhone.
I've had one since the very beginning.
You have had one since the very beginning, yeah. So how much did you pay for it?
Free.
Really?
Yeah.
How was that?
Because I worked at Apple, and at the time, Apple just gave us free iPhones.
Wow. Because they were $600 when they came out, right?
They were, yeah.
And that was with a contract.
Yeah. Well, so that was the big thing. We're just like, oh my God, everyone's drooling over this thing that Apple just put out. We're all Apple employees. A week later, we find out all you guys are going to get one for free. And that's when I thought, wow, they're really serious about this. They really want to get a lot of people this device. So yeah, I've had it for a long time. And I have an iPhone 4 now. So I've had 3 different iPhones.
Wow. So I'm on my second iPhone. I have a 4S. I had a 3GS before this. So I skipped 2 generations of phones. But I was on a contract when it came out, right? So there's nothing I could do. But there's an article that came out recently. It's been making its way across the web, and it's basically a picture. And the caption is, "What phones look like before and after iPhones transformed the industry." I'll show it to you. This is my getaway way of showing you guys images. There it is. It's on Cultimac. It's on a bunch of different websites. And basically, it's just 2 images next to each other that show what phones used to look like and what they look like now. Let's talk about the differences between iPhones and phones of the past and what phones used to be like. Do you remember what phones used to be like?
Yeah, they sucked.
All right, moving on.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you this: before I had the iPhone, which came out in 2008, I had, and what was announced in 2007, I had a flip phone, just a Sprint flip phone, and I did some texting. I played Bejeweled once in a while.
Wow, you put games on it.
That was the only game you could play because it had it, you know.
Wow.
That's it. But like, I remember thinking I want to get a Trio or something. Like I want to get a smartphone, but smartphones were so like, you know, they were hard to use, and I don't know, they were just they weren't really like, people didn't really have them. Like a few of my techie friends had them, but prior to the iPhone, I mean, it was not uncommon, like you see in the picture, that there was just a whole across the board keyboards, small keyboards, or just numerical keyboards, really crappy screens, all different kinds of software on every single phone. Every carrier had their own software, and touch was basically not around. It was stylus
Or if
touch.
it was touch, yeah, you were touching the same crappy UI.
Yeah.
It wasn't like anything different. It was just like you got to use your same crappy phone, except
Yeah.
it had touch capability with a stylus, like you said.
And the thing I hated was when iPhone came out, was people would compare it like, oh, they've already had that with the Trio, like the Palm OS had that, and it's like, no, I think it's safe to say that they did change everything. With now phones are a freaking black screen, you know, and yeah. So what about your feelings on that?
I feel like there was before the iPhone and then after the iPhone, and there was a major shift. I would say even like a shift in paradigm, like in thinking before the iPhone and after the iPhone. So before, you had this device that was incredibly locked down. Remember, like every carrier had their own music store, and if you wanted to put a song on your phone, yeah, it's like Verizon would sell you a flip phone, right? Everybody had flip phones or even bar phones, but they all essentially worked the same way. They just had a bunch of numbers on them and really crappy UIs.
Yeah, I mean, remember the Razor?
Yeah.
Everybody loved the Razor, but it was really the same piece of shit.
Yeah, it looked cool on the outside, but the software was really bad.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I consider all PCs now. But so you had this phone that, you know, had this really terrible UI, and it was locked down. Like the carrier would take functionalities that were built in the phone by the hardware manufacturers, like Nokia or a Motorola or whatever, and they would lock them so that you had to buy some really expensive accessories. Remember, like if you wanted to transfer data to your phone, you needed to buy the data transfer cable, and it'd be like $20. If you wanted like a car charger, it's like it'd be like $45. It was just something ridiculous. And if you wanted to like use the Bluetooth functionality, you usually couldn't, because you had to buy like Verizon's like a proprietary Bluetooth headset, because they would make it only work with their products. It's like the carriers were crippling all their phones. So you had this crippled device that was really only good for really making phone calls. You had the really terrible internet. Remember the WAP internet?
Yeah, the WAP internet. Yeah.
And it was basically like a text-based internet, and they were trying to figure out how to bring the internet to the phone. And it's like, it was like this like terrible looking page with hyperlinks all over it, and it was really poor. It was really crappy to use. And then all of a sudden you have Apple come out with this iPhone, which I was excited about. I'd been waiting for before it was released. Yeah. And I feel like it was like unchained. It was like you have a computer. Yeah. Right? It's a phone, but you could put music on it, you could put ringtones on it.
You get the real web.
Which is a major selling point, right? Because it's not adapting the web to your phone. Right. Which made no sense.
Right, yeah. That was, like, I remember waking up and reading the live blogs for when the iPhone was announced, and reading these things, and then he touches the device and uses his fingers to expand the photo or expand the site, and I was like, that sounds like science fiction. Like, it was blowing my mind just reading like these things that it was supposedly doing. I wasn't even watching the video yet, but I mean, we're so used to it now because it's so natural now, but like back then it was like, that's crazy. Like, what? You can touch the screen and go like that, and it makes it bigger? Like, that was crazy, you know?
And remember, like, when it launched, there weren't even apps yet.
Right, yeah.
Like, Steve Jobs didn't want to put apps on the phone at all. Like, he was like, oh, we'll do web apps. Yeah. And then eventually they made, like, the whole iTunes store, and you could buy apps. And now, the iTunes store alone, you know, is like, gigantic. And it's, like, bigger than all of Yahoo. I don't know if that's true.
Well, the app
we talked about that last week, right?
Was,
right. Yeah, like, their app store makes so much money. I think it makes more money than Yahoo. Like, just the app store. Right. So you have all these copycats now.
But let's talk about the whole how much flack they got for not having a stylus and not having a keyboard.
Yeah,
that was the very beginning of that. I mean, yeah,
people are still complaining about that.
There's probably people that say, "Oh, it's not the beginning of that," but they popularized it. like they do with a lot of things. They popularized not having a keyboard, using your fingers on the screen. So many copycats right after came out, and they were still pressure sensitive phones where you had to like push on it. And then Google comes along and does Android, and that's, you know, well, we know what happened there. Like, but yeah, I mean, the copycats, what were you saying?
Dude, I think that, like, with the copycats, they were all trying to just toss a UI or a touch screen or touch-based UI on top of a crappy phone.
Yeah.
So, like, it worked the same way, at, like, all the same functionality as your flip phone, except now you had icons you could tap. Mm-hmm. Because the carriers were like, they were either thinking we need to trick people into buying our products, mm-hmm. or they were thinking, oh, it's touch that people love. Mm-hmm. So we need to create a touch phone. And I think that actually might be one of the things they were thinking. Like when you look at all these like tablet copycats, it's like they think it's the UI that is selling these devices.
Right.
And I think that's partially true.
Right.
But it's not. It's definitely not the whole driving force. I mean, it's all the ecosystem that Apple's built around it that's selling these devices.
Sure.
But I mean, now we're in the age of iPhone, and I can't even imagine. I can't imagine not having a phone that I could use to upload pictures to Instagram, mm-hmm. that I could use to browse the web, to check my email in a natural way, mm-hmm. to, you know, read all these news apps that I read every day.
Yeah.
It's like now my phone has become something that's working for me instead of something that is like really crippled and hard to use.
Right. Mm-hmm.
It's been incredible. And I'm really excited to see what they do in the next 5 years. Like, how can Apple change this incredible device? Because you think like, it couldn't get any better, right? But I thought that about the iPod.
Yeah, that's right.
And now the iPod Classic is this dinosaur that's sitting in the Apple Store.
I remember what's it called, iPod on the iPhone being like awesome. Like, well, you can turn it and then it has like cover flow and everything like that. If you really want to like, I don't know, try to relive that, go look up on YouTube, you know, Steve Jobs' iPhone keynote, mm-hmm. and all the things that he does a great job, you know, displaying each thing. Okay, this is how the iPod works. This is how, and before that, nothing worked like that. Like that was all new. Like the rubber banding, all that was new. You know,
dude, totally. Especially like a lot of like the UI things. Like, you know, like when you're scrolling and it like once you get to the end of the list, it like bounces down and comes back up. Mm-hmm. It's like that's a natural way things work in like life, right? It's like a rubber band like bounces around or whatever. But it's like in the computer world, like no engineer would just be like, oh yeah, we need to make this UI thing to make it feel more natural. He'd be like, well, the list moves up and down. You can see your data.
Sure, yeah.
It's like that's all you need, right?
And they don't have scroll bars. Like they took the time to reinvent the whole UI, not just the phone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, in really innovative ways.
Right.
Anyway. Speaking of iDevices.
Yes.
All right, see ya. We have an audience.
Oh, we have an
this
audience.
Is a live show. Yeah.
Bye. Have a good day.
Oh yeah, there you go. Everyone always does that.
That's the wrong way. That's why.
Our lock has like this.
It's reversed.
Is it real reversed?
Yeah. It's usually you flip this way to lock things.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Everyone always locks our door before they try to get out.
Slide to unlock.
Yeah, that's what we need on doors. Slide to unlock and it just unlocks.
Bye.
All right, see ya.
Okay, so we were going to talk about...
So you recently got rid...
of my Mac.
Of your Mac.
Yeah.
Which, when I heard, I was surprised.
It's a good segue because, dude, I thought about it and I was like, you know what are a lot of things that I do just on my smartphone, on my iPhone? And for the most part, a lot of it was email and, you know, like some app stuff like Twitter and Facebook and stuff like that. And so I made the decision to get rid of my Mac, even though it's kind of one of my main things that I used all the time. But I also evaluated it beforehand by thinking, what do I do in a browser nowadays? And a lot of people now are talking about cloud computing and doing things online. And I happen to have two really old PC computers, and I was like, let's see how I fare with just using one. If it doesn't work out, I guess I'll just buy another Mac. And I didn't intend to buy one anyway, but so I brought over to
so this is the computer that you actively use every day.
To show and tell. This is my...
I like that you have an Apple sticker on it.
This is my Dell.
Dude, hold it sideways so they can see how thick it is.
Yeah, hold up your computer. So this probably came out like, I don't know, early 2000s or something like that.
Dude, we're really going Dignation now.
Yeah.
He got his own PC and I've got a Mac.
So this is what I actively use for work, to do things like ship out orders and do spreadsheets and do what else? Any kind of social networking that I need to do for work.
And do you use the internet on this to browse and?
Yeah, I pretty much do all that kind of stuff. I have another PC that I use more for kind of like, you know, if I want to watch Netflix or something, because this is a little too old to like be able to do that. It's just too slow. But I mean, this is old, you guys. Like, it doesn't have a webcam. That's one of the things that I was like, oh yeah, there's no webcam in this. Like,
right.
One of those things that you are naturally accustomed to seeing now on a computer.
Yeah, especially because Apple was the first company that I know of
to popularize
to put a webcam on every single notebook computer. They put it on every single one, right?
Right. And another thing it doesn't even have is Wi-Fi, so I have to use this little thing.
Your laptop didn't come with Wi-Fi.
No Wi-Fi. Yeah.
Wow.
Isn't that interesting? Like the things that it doesn't have that we don't even think about. And then, what else? I mean, I have to plug it in all the time because it's gonna die.
Because the battery's shot.
But
how old do you think this computer is?
I don't know, like 2002, 2003, maybe.
Wow, dude, that's insane.
So it's running XP, and basically what I found out is that you can fully use this kind of thing if you don't mind the occasional slowness, and this is an extreme case, right? Because this is such an old computer.
Yeah, right.
But it's running Windows XP Service Pack 3, and I've honestly been using this, and it's been a really like steady workhorse of a computer to be able to do this kind of stuff. And on top of that, the limitations actually make me more productive because I'm not going on YouTube, I'm not going on Facebook, all this other stuff. I'm not loading up Netflix because I know it's not going to really work very well. So it's been a kind of an interesting experiment for me to just start using this as a main computer.
So you're using Gmail, right?
Yeah, the things I use are Gmail, Google Docs for spreadsheets, and I use what's it called? Zendesk, which is a thing for keeping track of customer data and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And I use Throwboy's back-end admin system for tracking my orders and things like that. So
pretty much everything you do is on the web now?
Yeah, everything I'm doing is through Firefox. Firefox or Google Chrome, but I usually use Firefox. And so yeah, anyway, another thing about this is I started doing this, I don't know, a few months ago. And I was like, you know what would be cool, though, is if I could get an old Mac. If I could get like an old, cool iMac G4, like those were my favorite ones with the swivel neck. Why wouldn't I be able to do everything from the browser on that? And so I went out and bought one for like $60. And
did you really?
Yeah.
I'm surprised you got one for that cheap.
Found out that it's crazy on this piece of shit. You can run, Mozilla Firefox, the newest version. It's all supported. You can go and do basically everything you would normally do on any website, except for maybe something that's intense, like streaming video, for example. But you can't do any of that stuff. You can't even load up Google Docs on any web browser on the Mac that isn't 10.5 or above, running an Intel processor. So if you get an old Mac, it's a decoration. You can't really do anything with it. You can play DVDs on it. Like, you can't really do that much. But it's crazy to me to think that you can do so much with any capable browser, but not so much with, I don't know. It feels like it's kind of weird that you can't do that with a Mac of the same date, of the same age.
So, we talked about this before we started the show, and we had to save the banter for when we actually hit record. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't surprised by this, and Roberto was surprised that I wasn't surprised. And here's why I'm not surprised. Intel is a massive company, right? And their chips are in everything. And the old Macs use PowerPC chips from IBM, and no one uses those. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't surprise me that that people wouldn't support PowerPC technologies, A. Mm-hmm. B, Windows XP probably is still installed. My guess is that it's installed on more computers today than Line is on Macs today. Yeah. I mean, it was around for so long, and so many people still use it because, I mean, it works.
It works
in a lot of different scenarios.
Yeah, and it was. I mean, think of all the businesses that still use it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so for me, I'm like, well, it makes sense that a company like Mozilla would still support, if they even need to go out of their way to support it. I don't know if they do, but if they would still support XP as opposed to Panther. How many people are still using Panther today? OS Panther, right? What was that, 10.3?
10.3, yeah.
Or Tiger, 10.4.
10.4, yeah.
Like, I used Tiger, 6 or 7 years ago. But, like, when you use a Mac, the OS updates are so well tied in to, your Mac that, once an update comes out, it's only, like, usually 2 or 3 weeks before, it's really easy to update. I just think that since the Mac audience is a lot smaller in general, how much more small is the audience that's still using Panther?
Sure, and they can move a lot faster. They can obsolete their stuff a lot quicker.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's sort of a double-edged sword. There's a lot of people out there that want to have the latest and greatest, but it's just even if you don't want to do that, you kind of have to chug along because the Mac's gonna not really work if you don't. You know what I mean? Yeah,
and that does suck. It's surprisingly, used Macs, like if you go on Craigslist, are not cheap.
Yeah.
Dude, they hold their resale value forever.
Which is a good thing if you want to just get rid of it and get another one. That's what I used to do. That's what I do all the time.
Yeah,
so.
Me too. Every time I upgrade my my notebook, I sell this on Craigslist, and I remember the last one I sold, I bought a 17-inch MacBook Pro. I think I bought it for like $2,300, and a year later, or a year and a half later, I sold it for $1,800. It's like, what other PC could you do that with? Like,
Nothing.
Certainly not a Dell.
No, because they're just too mass-produced. It's just dime a dozen, like.
And they have so many models, right? It's like when you
this
have
is the
100
Inspiron
models,
1150.
Yeah, there's probably more models in the Inspiron, just the Inspiron line, than there are like Mac notebooks, and that's just one line from Dell.
Yeah.
So it's insane. But I'd still rather have a Mac than.
Oh yeah.
PC. I guess you would too.
I would too. Let's not get it wrong. Let's not say I now discovered the holy grail.
I can't believe you've switched to PC and you like it better than Macs.
And it's Windows XP. It's like it's not that. It's more of the fact that look how much stuff has moved to the web, where you don't need a lot of horsepower to run it. You know what I mean? That's true. Because you can do a lot of this stuff that I'm doing just and I'm actually running Steam. The game thing. And I've been doing like older games with Steam. Really? Yeah. So like, it just is interesting to me that I know why it's supported. I know why, but it's just interesting to me that it's still supported. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. On one of your first points about you feel like you're able to focus more because you're not getting distracted as much. That's something that I've been thinking about a lot recently. Just how much time. I waste and people waste on the internet. Like when you're browsing the internet, you feel like you're doing something productive. But at the end, like you haven't really done anything. Yeah. And to use an analogy, a photography analogy, a lot of people are always, myself included, looking to the next big camera and being like, well, if I only had this piece of gear, I could do X, Y, Z. Sure. If I only had that piece of gear, I could do X, Y, Z. Musicians do this too. Yeah. Right? And it's like, I think it's true that like if you stop thinking about all that and just focus on doing something. Yeah, the task, focus on the task at hand, you probably already have everything that you need to do. Mm-hmm. Like we're doing this podcast, we're not using all the nicest gear, although I have some nice stuff that we're using. I have a nice mic, I have a nice camera, but it's not like the nicest stuff ever. Right. But like it's like who cares? It works. And I think the main purpose or the main point is like that you just do it. Right. I think that's one thing you're really good at. It's like you don't really ever worry about having the nicest stuff. You're more task oriented. You're like, I just need to do this task. Mm-hmm. And then you use the resources you have available to you to do that. Yeah. I've always been from that school. I think my brother and I have always kind of thought in that way. Like, there's so many people we've known throughout our life. They're like, oh man, as soon as I get blah, 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 then I'll become a photographer. Or then I'll become a DJ or whatever. And we're like, we're not going to know what the hell we're doing to begin with. So if we're starting out like we want to be the best guitar player in the world, just get a guitar first
and start playing.
and start playing it. You know?
Yeah, totally.
Like you don't have to be the guy that's like, well, as soon as I save up for that Strat, that's
or that one
$30,000 or that one amp, then I'll be good to go. It's like more than likely you'll buy something that you have very little knowledge about anyway, and then just you won't even really grow into it. You'll probably change your mind. That you
yeah. How many times does that happen, right? Like you get something that you thought you really needed to do something, and you get it, and it just sits in the box.
Yeah,
because you haven't even really built the foundation to even use it. It's like if you were gonna buy a really nice guitar, you get this nice guitar, but it's like you never really put in the hard work to make your old guitar sound good. And your old guitar may sound like crap even when it's sounding pretty good. But like at least you have the skill now to make a guitar sound good.
Right.
And that's a skill that you can take, to your next guitar. So it's like you have people buying new equipment, new cameras, if you will. And they don't even know how their old camera works.
Yeah, they put it on automatic.
Yeah, they put it on automatic, and like they don't even know all the nuances of their gear, how their gear reacts in different situations, how to push their gear to the limits, and they're already ready to upgrade to new stuff, and they haven't even maxed out their old stuff.
It's good to, I think, just in general, kind of start pretty stripped down with whatever it is that
I agree.
You're learning, and. Who knows? I mean, I'm probably not gonna use this for super long, but like,
I hope not.
It works well with the minimal things that I need to do, and I'm probably gonna get a Mac in like another month or so. But like,
oh, you are?
Yeah.
What kind do you think you're gonna get?
Probably 13-inch MacBook Pro, or maybe an iMac. I haven't decided because it's about productivity for me now. It's like, if I have a MacBook Pro, I'll probably end up just more screwing around with it than I am doing anything.
Dude, that's true, because you have it with you anywhere you go,
yeah,
right?
If I have an iMac, I'm like dedicated to one
it's like you're at the computer because you need to do something.
Right. So
actually a good point.
Those are just things that along with the kind of like using this, I've learned more about that kind of stuff too. So it's difficult because the internet's shiny and fun and awesome. So
and it's such a huge time sink.
Yeah.
You can waste so much time on the internet and never really get really good at doing something.
Or video games.
Or video games, whatever. It's like you're always just... Actually, you can get really good at video games.
Get paid for it.
You get paid for it, dude. Like me and my Modern Warfare 3 skills. Yeah. So anyway, I think that wraps it up.
I think so.
Thanks for watching.
Yeah, thanks for watching. You guys can find us on Blip TV /user-friendly. That would be the kind of good place to find us.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best place to go at this point.
We'll have a website up soon, and we'll give you guys the URL for all that.
Now, Roberto, if I wanted to find you,
yes,
where can I find you online?
Well, if you feel like looking at my day-to-day tweets, you can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Roberto Hoyos, ROBERTOHOYOS. If you feel like learning about Throwboy or seeing what Throwboy is up to, you could go to throwboy.com, and throwboy.com/blog is where I put a lot of stuff as far as Throwboy and what's going on with that. And how about you, man?
I've heard that I have really nice tweets.
Okay.
People have told me that. So if you want to follow my tweets, I'm at Erfon, at ERFON on Twitter. And if you are interested in Might Tees, it's just at MIGHTTEES on Twitter as well. MightTees.com. Throwboy.com.
User-friendly on Blip TV. And again, we'll have a site up pretty soon.
Is it going to be userfriendly.awesome? Is that domain taken?
We're not allowed to say it yet because we don't want to be taken.
It's going to be...
We don't want people to jack our
dude, awesome. Yeah, good call. So but one of our 10 viewers is going to steal our URL.
Hey, each one of those guys, if there was 10 people here, you'd feel differently than
That's probably true. All right, we'll catch you next time.